tell you, we are getting precise, aren't we?
There you go. He's on.
Okay. Good evening. It's 5:30, and I call this meeting of the Bastrop Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. If you now please stand and join me in the pledges.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. If you remain standing for just a moment, Gus Best from Bastrop Celebration Church is here to give us some opening remarks. Good evening.
Our Father, we come into your presence in the beauty of all that is true, right, and holy, the love of Jesus the Christ, to present ourselves to you and thank you that we could be together. I thank you for this school board. I thank you for their life and their integrity. I thank you, Father, for the beauty of every man, woman, boy, and girl in this room, and ask your blessing upon them. May this be a meeting filled with your joy and your insight, your wisdom and understanding. May it be a time, Father, for all of us as our police, unity, honor, and integrity. May this be a joyful time, a time of understanding. Father, you've given us a beautiful city of Bastrop in this beautiful county. We are asking your awareness to us all, insight into common ground and the beauty of all that is right and holy. So, Father, I thank you for this time. I thank you for the things that will be said. I thank you for the things that will be decided. I ask for our children, our families, our teachers, a blessing that can only come out of you, of your kindness pouring through us and your insight. We are filled with gratitude and thanksgiving to you. May your joy overwhelm us. And we love you, Father, and thank you for this privilege of being together in the love of Jesus the Christ. Amen.
Mr. Edwards, will you introduce our speaker?
Yes, it would be my pleasure to introduce our student speaker on our character education trait for February, which happens to be justice. Are you nervous? You're okay.
You're okay.
Let me introduce you to Brenna. Brenna, come on up. Brenna Meyer is a 6th grade student at Bastrop Intermediate School, where her principal is very proud.
And a supporter, obviously.
So she goes to Bastrop Intermediate, as I said. She is a part of the Gifted and Talented program, multiple UIL teams. She is also in choir and holds the office of choir president. Congratulations. In her spare time, she loves to ride bikes, read, play games, and watching TV shows like Master Chef. Brenda, who is with you this evening? Who do you have with you?
My mom and my sister.
Thank you very much for coming. All right, Brenda.
Hello. Today I will be telling you about justice. The definition of justice is the quality of being just, impartial, and fair. The ability to be just is within us all. I try to be just with my friends, family, and even people I do not know, because we all, no matter what our opinions are or how different, deserve equal and fair treatment. To be just, you need to see from someone else's perspective. Walk in their shoes. This can be hard. We can all develop opinions just by looking at someone, but we need to remember that both people and their arguments are equal and deserve the same chance of being right. We need to push aside our own opinions and focus on the problem. As a person who tries to be just, I feel like we don't see enough justice. I look at the news and see how someone was getting better treatment or someone was able to get a job because of how they look. We can all try to be fair and remember that we are all the same. Justice can come in many forms: distributive, procedural, retributive, restorative, and social justice. All of these different types of justice have one thing in common. They mean to be treated equally. Even though people can have a different ethnicity, religion, skin color, beliefs, likes and dislikes, and opinions, We need to treat them equally. To be just is to be fair. I am fair with my friends at school and my family at home. My friends tell me that I am just, and it helps them that when they get into fights. Hearing that from them makes me want to encourage everyone to be just as well. It makes the world a better place. So, the next time your friends or family get into a fight, remember to be just.
That was outstanding. Brenda, we have a special gift for you for sharing such wisdom with us. We appreciate it. You did an outstanding job, and thank you to you for bringing her and to your sister for coming. Thank you. Also, each month I like to introduce our the Superintendent Student Advisory Council members that come to the board meetings to give information to the board, answer questions. They may have questions on how the students view certain things in the schools, and it gives them the students' perspective. We have 3 members with us this evening from Cedar. I'm going to have Gianna go ahead and introduce yourself, Gianna, and where you go to school. And
Hi, my name is Gianna Del Bosque. I'm a sophomore at Cedar Creek High School.
thank you, Gianna. Okay, Edgar. Junior at Circa. Oh, Jesus. Thank you all for being here.
We now move into our recognitions and presentations. First, we'll have the Fine Arts recognition, where the presenter will be Chico Portillo, Director of Fine Arts. Good evening.
Well, good afternoon, board. Mr. Edwards, happy last day of Mardi Gras, right? A couple hours left. I want to thank you, as always, for making the time to publicly acknowledge the great work of our teachers and our students. Tonight, we'll be honoring our middle school choir students who've made the all-region choir. I asked McKenna King, the choir teacher from Bastrop Middle School, to come up and introduce herself and her kiddos.
Good afternoon, school board and Mr. Edwards. My name is McKenna King, and I'm the choir director and piano teacher at Bastrop Middle School, and this is my student, Mariana Contreras. On Saturday, February 4th, Mariana participated in the TMEA Region 18 Honor Choir that took place right here at Bastrop's own Performing Arts Center. I had the pleasure of hosting this event, and it was a great success. Mariana was one of only 27 7th grade soprano ones selected from over 25 choir programs from Austin ISD, Hayes ISD, Dripping Springs ISD, and Del Valley ISD. Each student practiced their audition selections and participated in the region contest where they sang for 5 judges. Mariana's persistent mentality and her passion for singing is what ultimately led her to be selected to participate in this honor choir. Along with the other 7th grade treble singers, she worked tirelessly from 8:30 in the morning until their concert at 4 p.m. They sang beautifully and demonstrated the high quality of musicianship that the state of Texas is known for. For both myself and Ms. Vukovic, our Cedar Creek Middle School director, it was a solid reminder that vocal music is alive and well in Bastrop, Texas. We are so proud of our young musicians and thank the Bastrop School Board, my wonderful principal, Ms. Horn, our fantastic fine arts supervisor, Mr. Portillo, and Mr. Edwards, of course, for supporting the wonderful arts in this wonderful district. So thank you.
I saw it said fantastic.
Oh, it said fantastic?
sure.
Oh, I feel better. Thank you.
Next, I asked Miss Katie Vukovic, who's new to us this year at Cedar Creek Middle School, leading the choir, to come and speak on behalf of her students. Ms. Vukovic.
All right, well, good afternoon, school board. Thank you so much for having us here today. I'm Katie Vukovic, the choir and piano teacher over at Cedar Creek Middle School, and I have with me today our region choir students. This is Abigail Wells, an 8th grader, Natalia Schumacher, and then our 3rd student, Kevin Reyes, who's pictured behind you, unfortunately could not be with us this afternoon, but we want to acknowledge him as well. Basically, to second what Ms. King said, thank you so much again for giving us this opportunity to be acknowledged and for all of your support in helping make this possible for our students, to Mr. Edwards, to the school board, to Mr. Portillo, and then of course to our wonderful administration headed by our principal, Mr. Brown. The students put in so much hard work to be where they are today. They've been working on these pieces since November. They spent so much time on their own practicing. They did weekly rehearsals every day after school, giving up their own time. They really put in the effort to make it through this tough audition process and then to be rewarded with making it into the region choir. I could not be more proud of them and the standard of excellence that they are setting both for our own choral program and for the community of Bastrop. I hope that we continue to see it grow. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Congratulations. Okay, we now move to the recognition of the Bastrop Middle School National Junior Honor Society. The presenter will be Sergeant Kayla Barner.
Boy, our boys are getting big.
They are.
We-
You can see some basketball players here.
This is some healthy young people here.
Perfect.
Did you guys practice your song?
Yeah.
You're gonna sing a song, right? Oh,
Well, now I can't see the school board, but you're fine, stay where you're at. So I feel bad, I did not prepare a speech, but I want to thank these young men and women and Miss Tidwell for participating in our second annual Blue Saints Toy Drive. They did help us out last year, and we got really, really busy, and I'm like, this year, I'm gonna have to recognize them. So I would have to say between last year's toy drive, I know we served 116, I think, last year. This year, we were in that same range with 116 students here at Bastrop ISD. The majority of these students, this group of young men and women right here, provided with your families, because I know a lot of the donations that came in from your families, but the money that was raised, the toys that were brought in, we could not have done it without this group here. Like I said, I know for a fact that this year with I think it was roughly 112 this year, but I would have to say at least half, if not more, of those students were provided for by these young men and women here. So thank you for your hard work. And like I said, we could not have done it without you, and I know that the students that y'all provided gifts for really appreciates what you've done, and you made their Christmas really, really awesome. So thank you very much. And we have a nice plaque for you guys. Just saying that this certificate is presented to the National Junior Honor Society of Bastrop Middle School in recognition of your generous donations for the Blue Saints Toy Drive, and also for the help that you provide to make it great. Thank you guys very much.
Thank y'all. Yeah, she's here. Okay, good.
I know.
Yeah, we really lost our audience.
I don't want to stick with.
We move now to it's the spotlight speaker, CTE work-based learning. The presenter tonight is Dr. Stephen Henn, PTech and WBL coordinator. Good evening, welcome.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Edwards, Mr. Moore, and the members of the board. Thanks so much for having me this evening. And truly thank you to Bastrop for allowing us to be spotlighted this month. It is CTE month, which is very fitting for the work that I do. And I'm just so incredibly grateful to the work that we do here in the district because we really see CTE as being so much broader than what maybe we grew up with generations ago. CTE is really expanding in its opportunities. We reach far beyond vocational education. We have cybersecurity in the district. We have advanced manufacturing. We have agriculture. We have all these wonderful opportunities for our young people to develop into what the future of the workforce is really going to be. And I think that's really the message that I wanted to send to our chamber, that we really are working hard to develop their future workforce. One of the ways that we do that is by building bridges into the community, because we know that the partnership between the school district and our community is going to be so integral to the development of that future workforce. And I was so grateful to speak to our chamber, and I was very excited to share a couple of stories with them. The first being about a program that I was privileged to launch this past fall at our alternative high school, Genesis. And I had an event that I was preparing for, and I needed 12 speakers at that event. And so I needed 12 businesses to send me somebody, a leader or a member of their business, to talk to our Genesis students to understand what the workforce might be demanding of them. Now, to get that many people, I only had to reach out to 14 businesses. That's remarkable in my mind. That's a sign of how phenomenal the support for our community is. The partnership between our district and our school and our business community, just wonderful to be a part of. I'm so proud of it. I experience it on a regular basis, and I hope I'm not jinxing myself by saying it'll never run out, but truly it seems like it's never ending, the support there. I then moved on to share with them an opportunity we have coming up, or we have had the past 2 summers, and we hope to have coming up again this summer, and that's our summer internship program. And this is a program that we have reason to be very proud of. Again, the partnership with our business community is very strong here. We saw that over 30 businesses were willing to bring a Bastrop student into their business to perform some significant tasks. And when we talk about our summer internship, we're not just looking at students going in and filing papers or stapling and shuffling things. We really want them to get an experience that matters in their life to prepare them for the workforce. We prepare them for that. As you can see up on your screens, we give them 60 to 80 hours of experience in their company. We give them a boot camp before they even go to their companies so they can be fully prepared, ready to show up on time, know what the dress codes are, know what communication skills are necessary to be effective workers. And we also help the business partners by offering salary support as well as district-provided liability insurance, which is really important when you're thinking about having somebody just for a short period of time. You may not have the HR capacity to bring them onto your full insurance programs, but you can trust that the school district is going to be able to support you in that way as well, making the program a really seamless partnership with our local business partners. I was able to share with them how positive the experience was with their businesses last year. We scored a 4.3 out of 5 overall from the businesses that gave us feedback. And our students were so successful that, again, 4.3 out of 5 was their level of interest in hosting an intern again. And to me, that idea of a repeat customer really shows you the effectiveness of a program, that they really want to be a part of it again. And the interns shown. They showed the 2 quotes of feedback that we got from our businesses are up on the screen. One company said the intern was bright and eager to learn, which is great. Another thing I pointed out to them, the value of having an intern is that they can get a youth perspective on their business. So it's really a thriving opportunity for us. We're very excited about it. We've had it 2 years running so far. We're waiting, cross fingers, for a word from the state about whether our 3rd application for grant funding for this year will come through. We'll know in a couple of weeks whether that happens. But this is a program that we really can highlight and hang our hats on, and the business community was really receptive to it. The final thing I wanted to share with you guys is after my presentation to the chamber, I sat down, I was happy and done, great lunch, always grateful for that. Just further evidence of how wonderful our business community is that after the chamber luncheon ended, I stayed around for probably 30 to 45 minutes because of businesses further interested in partnering with us, and talked to them about other activities that I couldn't share in my presentation, our career days, our mentorships, all those other opportunities, and they just continue to, again, knock on wood, provide that partnership that we value so much. And so I'm incredibly proud of being a part of this district, incredibly grateful for the work I do. It's very enlivening and enriching for me, and I think we have a lot to be grateful for here in the district. So thank you all for giving me the opportunity to be the spotlight speaker. Thank you for letting me share this evening, and thank you for your wonderful work.
Thank you, Dr. Gunn. We now move to Bastrop Chamber of Commerce resolution in support of the Bastrop ISD 2023 bond. The presenter this evening is Becky Womble, President CEO of Bastrop Chamber of Commerce. Good evening.
Good evening, School Board President, school board members, and Barry Edwards. Very proud to be here tonight to present a resolution. Whereas the mission of the Bastrop Chamber of Commerce is to improve business prosperity and thereby the quality of life in Bastrop County through leadership, advocacy, and collaboration. Whereas the student population of Bastrop Independent School District is approximately 12,600 students and is expected to grow by 3,700 students in the next 5 years. And whereas a workforce trained and educated by a strong public school district is fundamental to the quality of life and economic vitality, attracting new businesses and residents and generating new jobs. And whereas on the 17th day of January 2023, the Bastrop Independent School District Board of Trustees voted to call a bond election in the amount of $324,500,000 to be placed on the May 6, 2023 bond. And whereas the proposed bond includes 2 elementary schools for pre-K through 5th grade, completion of an intermediate to middle school conversion of grades 6 through 8, safety and security enhancements, including a new combined Bastrop ISD Police Administration and Operations Facility for maintenance, custodial, grounds, shipping, and receiving, and additional classrooms at Colorado River Collegiate Academy and Genesis High School. And whereas the bond proposed also calls for 2-story academic wings at Bastrop High School and Cedar Creek High School, as well as Mena Elementary, in addition to renovations and improvements are planned at all other schools to address aging buildings and infrastructure. And whereas the proposed school bond will address student population growth and corresponding additional facility needs at Bastrop Independent School District with no tax rate increase. Therefore, be it resolved that the Bastrop Chamber of Commerce supports the proposed school bond to address these needs on the May 6, 2023 ballot, adopted the 15th day of February by the governing body of the Bastrop Chamber of Commerce, signed by Evan Moylan, Chairman of the Board, Jace Jones, Chair-elect, Chad Benoit, the past chair, Becky Womble, President CEO of the Bastrop Chamber of Commerce, Derek Brown, Chair of our Education Committee, and Sky Pinkston, Co-Chair of the Education Committee. We greatly appreciate the partnership that we have with Bastrop ISD because, as I tell them in meeting after meeting at campus visits, this school district is educating our future workforce, and there could not be any more important partnership. So we appreciate everything you do, and we support this bond 100%.
Appreciate your support as well. The business community is certainly an important membership of ours that we try to bring along with us, and then your help is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
So my intern, you know, he wasn't like filing paperwork and stuff, but he sure did work his hiney off for 2 years in a row for a summer patriotic festival. So we want another intern, but we will have him doing much different things this year, he or she. So anyways, we appreciate everything Dr. Henn has done to do that internship program.
Good.
I'd just like to say that what Dr. Henn said, talking about the businesses and the support they have of the school district, I think it comes from the chamber and how you elevate your priority of our school district in our community and the chamber, the board, and all of the chamber. And so those things don't just happen. It's been a lot of work and a lot of respect among the businesses for our district, because that's the standard that's set through the Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Molly.
Thank you.
We now move to open forum, and there's been no one signing up for that, so we go to our public hearing. Public hearing on the Texas Academic Performance report, the TAPER, as it's lovingly called. The presenter is tonight Heather Christie, Director of Accountability and Curriculum, and Rachel Repke, District Testing and Data Analysis Coordinator.
I was so excited to be able to come
I know, you just like jumped the gun there.
Yeah,
to share our 2021-2022 annual report and public hearing. So, Mr. Moore, Mr. Edwards, members of the board, it's great to be with you tonight. Before we get started, I do want to take a moment to introduce Ms. Rachel Repke. She is our district testing and data coordinator. She joined us this past summer as Mr. Taywater moved into our PEMS and data quality position in the district. She was instrumental in pulling together the data and the pieces of this report that we're going to present to you tonight. This report and public hearing are requirements of the Texas Education Code, Chapter 39.306. So there's 8 sections of the report, this report that we're required to review tonight. Just a couple of thoughts on this as we get started. One is that the vast majority of the data and information that we're sharing with you tonight, you've already seen in previous board presentations or other forums over the past few months. I always think about this report as the opportunity to put a nice bow on on our previous school year on 2021-2022. There is a new section that's required in the report this year, and that is a review of our House Bill 3 goals. Again, some information that was shared with you in the fall, but we'll take a quick look at that again. There are 2 main data sources for our conversation this evening, and that is information that's pulled from our PEMS reporting and student assessment data. So the first section of the report is our Texas Academic Performance Report, or what we call TAPER. So some things that we'll point out here is that on the cover page of the district and campus TAPER reports, you'll find our accountability ratings. A couple of notes is that this was our first accountability rating in 2022 since before COVID. So 2019 was the last year that we had received ratings. In 2022, we had 9 campuses that received a higher numerical rating than they did in 2019, and an additional 2 campuses maintained their numerical rating from 2019. On our district report, you'll see our special education determination status, and then on Circa and Red Rock's campus reports, you'll see their distinction designations. If you remember back in October, we recognized Circa and Red Rock for their distinctions that they had earned. So the first section of the TAPER report looks at STAR performance for students, and it's reported, this first section is reported among or across the 3 performance levels or proficiency levels of STAR, and it's reported for each assessment and each grade and subject. So again, this is the first year, 2022 was the first year that we had year-to-year comparisons since before COVID. And I just wanted to make a couple of notes about the performance rates there. The definitions that the state has for approaches, meets, and masters really describes for us the level of support that students will need going into the next grade level in order to be successful. So that's how we use that information. And just another note that the approaches grade level is the graduation requirement on the 5 end-of-course exams that our high school students have to take in order to graduate. This next view here is a 5-year trend of our reading and math data. So I want to make a note here is that the purple line is approaches performance, the blue line is masters, and the green line is, the blue line is meets, and the green line is masters performance. It's a 5-year trend view. So let's first take a look at reading. Again, you're going to notice there's kind of a gap year, so to speak, because there's no 2020 data because everyone was at home learning at that point in the spring in 2020. What you will see is that our 2022 data in reading is higher than our 2019 data. So 2021, we were coming back, and I also want to make a note here that we still had quite a significant number of students that were involved in remote learning during the 2020-2021 school year. And we had a number of students on each campus that their first day back in person with us since March of 2020 was to come and take the STAR test with us that year. And so it was still a very much of a transition year for us and a different type of learning year. So you see that, but you can see that our blue meets and green masters performance level, we had a nice rebound from 2021 to 2022 and are performing higher than we did at 2019. In math, again, we made the note about remote learning. You'll notice that we don't have quite the rebound or experience quite the rebound in math that we are in reading. This is consistent with state and national data trends in regards to math performance. The next section that we want to talk about here is looking at academic growth for students as measured in domain 2A in the accountability system. When we look at this is a data trend of that 2A student growth performance. Again, it's a longitudinal view. You'll see that prior to 2022, our last growth measure was taken in 2019. This is because it takes 2 consecutive years of data to be able to calculate a growth measure. And so we didn't have that until this year so that we could compare back to 2021. So the teal line is reading, and you can say that we went from 62 to 74% from 2019 to 2022 in growth. The gray line looks at growth across both math and reading, and then the blue line there looks at math growth. So again, we saw an increase in growth across all of those 3 areas. The next section we're going to look at, the next few pages of the TAPER report, the first looks at our required reporting information in regards to our services, our students that receive multilingual services, either bilingual or through ESL, English as a Second Language programming. So a couple of notes here is that students served in our bilingual program showed an increase at the approaches level of 15% in reading last year and at 9% in meets for reading in 2022. And students served in our English as a Second Language program, our ESL, saw a gain of 12% at the approaches level in reading and 5% at the meets level. And then just a quick note in regards to STAR participation, our rate of students that take STAR with us, we've returned to pre-COVID levels at 98 to 99%. The next section of the TAPER report looks at attendance and graduation information. A note here that the most current information that we have here is actually for the 2020-2021 school year. This information always lags an additional year behind. I will note that Bastrop continues to have a very strong graduation rate as we look at it, as we continue to compare against the region and the state. And the last kind of student information section in the TAPER report relates to our college and career military readiness indicators. So these are work that we do with students to, again, make sure that they are college and career ready as they leave us. A note here that this information also 2 years lags a year behind. So it's for the class of 2021. This information is used in the accountability system for our high schools. The closing pages of the TAPER report include student and staff and program demographic information. So the 2022-2023 school year is what we often hear the agency refer to as a refresh year across a couple of major systems for us. So first we want to look at is that we'll administer a new STAR test, what we call STAR 2.0 in the spring. So just a few highlights here is that this is a required online test. As part of that, there are new item types, those that we call in technology enhanced items, so more than just multiple choice. Students drag and drop, they build graphs, those types of things. There's also a written short constructed response on science, social studies, in addition to the reading language arts test. And the reading test is really now a language arts test in that All grade levels that take STAR, grades 3 through English 2, will write an extended essay as part of their reading test this year. And it's a very different type of writing than what was on previous types of STAR, in that they have to respond and include text evidence from a passage that they've read. So those are some of the highlights that are taking place there. And in addition to STAR, we also have a refresh coming in our accountability system. So a couple of high points here is that there are going to be revised cut scores that are used to determine grades in multiple domains in the system. The Domain 2A growth model, as the commissioner refers to as a growth plus model, means that students need to show more than a year's growth in order to be captured in this revised domain. Domain 3, closing the gaps, has a pretty significant revision in its structure and the way it's going to be calculated. And then there's a revised methodology for how the district will receive its rating. I'm just going to take a moment to share that I've been working in testing and accountability for 20 years, and I've never seen this much change in a single year in a cross-assessment and accountability system. So it is a lot of components that we're working with our campuses through, along with the rest of the state. So as a note here, because of all of these changes, we're not going to receive STAR scores, knowing where students performed at approaches, meets, and masters, excuse me, until August. We normally receive that information in June, so it's quite a bit later. Because of that, we're not going to receive accountability ratings until mid-September, which is about a month later than what we normally do. And another thing that I'm going to note here, we've heard the commissioner speak to this, and have been told that it's going to be part of the agency's communication plan moving forward, is that because of all of the refresh that we're talking about here, doing a year-to-year comparison from 2022 to 2023 just really isn't going to be possible. It really is a reset year with both of these systems. And so that's going to be important for us to keep in mind as we move forward. In response to all of these pieces, and because we ground ourselves in continuous improvement, I want to share just a few of the things that we're doing in preparation. First of all, this is the second year for online testing in Bastrop ISD. We saw the changes that were coming and decided to go ahead and make that change last year, so that put us in a better place of preparation this year. So all of our local assessments are given online and include those new item types that we talked about. Through work that we received a grant for through T-Class from the agency, we've been doing strong foundations work in math and literacy. And what this has allowed us to do is to do some collective learning with a group of teachers, pre-K through 12, around research-based instructional strategies in literacy and math. And from that, we're going to collectively build and develop instructional frameworks that will kind of be our core and our anchor for instruction. We received information and news today that we've received another round of grant funding that will allow us to continue and support this work moving forward. We recognize the work and the additional support that was needed in math, so we are in our second year partnership with the new teacher project and TNTP, and providing us technical assistance in math instruction. And this year that's focused on grades 6 through 8. To address the writing component, we worked with teachers last year and identified a consistent writing strategy, K-12, that we use across all content areas to address the new writing components of the STAR. We affectionately call it the triple C of claim it, cite it, and cement it in regards to using text evidence. We trained all of our teachers at the beginning of the school year. We're using state interim assessments for our mock STAR this year. That's allowing students the opportunity to work in the CAMBIUM system and to actually interact with item types that have been written by the state using their process. And we have just completed action planning meetings with all of our campus principals, and where Mr. Edwards and Dr. Lee were a part of those conversations, as well as members of the CNI team. As part of that preparation, we walked with campus leaders to take a snapshot of their instruction, and really the purpose of that work was to really know how very specifically CNI can meet the needs of their campus and understand exactly what they're working toward and how we can help them. All right. So now we're going to move on to section 2, which is our PEAMS Financial Standard Report. This too lags a year behind for 2021. As a reminder, Dina presented information to you at the November meeting where she shared the financial integrity or first rating for 2021, which was superior, the highest rating possible. So congratulations to Dina and her team for that work. The next section of the report is our district accreditation status. And this is a status the commissioner issues each year based upon account of academic, financial, data reporting. However, due to COVID, that has kind of ceased for a few years and will not start again. This time next year, we'll receive a status for this current school year. So the documentation from the agency to that regard was included in the report for you. Section 4 of the report has to do with campus performance objectives. So you received information from last year's plan and are able to kind of see the progress that campus has made in accomplishing those objectives over the course of the year. And in that June column, you could see if they were continuing that with the blue arrow, if they were discontinuing it with the red X, or or if they accomplished it and then it was they were going to move to something different this year. As a reminder, Kendra brought to you in October the current year campus improvement plans and district improvement plans for your approval on those objectives. Section 5 is a report on violent or criminal incidents. There are specific discipline codes that report, so you have that there for your information. A couple of notes that members have been working to in response and as a reminder is that we do have social workers at our intermediate, middle school, and high school campuses now. We have multi-tiered system of support coaches on 10 of our campuses that specifically work to support behavior on those campuses. And so I just wanted to share that update with you on that front. Section 6 of this report looks at student performance in post-secondary institutions. So this lags even a little bit further behind, an additional year behind. And what it does is it follows students into their first year of Texas higher education institutions to see who attended and then what their GPA was, or the range of GPA after the conclusion of their first year. Section 7, this is that new section of the report. Jennifer Eberly and Amanda Brantley brought information to you around these in November. But again, here, just a reminder that in early literacy, our 2024 goal of third grade reading as 55, and in 2022, we were at 40%. So that's the progress towards that long-term goal. And then for college, career, military, and readiness, you see our 2024 goal, which will be based on our current seniors, and then what our attainment was for our 2021 class. And the last report, or the last section of the report, is the taper glossary that is there for any of your bed table reading that you would have to be able to learn more about all of the pieces that are here, but that's there. And so just as a reminder is that within the next couple of weeks, we will get the district and campus taper reports posted to our website. There'll be a hard copy of our annual report on all of our campuses in order to meet our communication requirements to our public. And as always, you could contact myself or Rachel if you were to have any additional questions related to this. So I think that's all that we have to share, but definitely I'm here to take any questions that anyone may have in regards to this.
I'm going to make a comment. During our meetings with the kids, I was asking the students, it's easy for us to say the kids went online 2.0 a year ago, and this is their second year. But to actually hear it from the kids, what effect that has when they're used to paper and pencil. Jesus, I'm going to kind of put you on the spot because you had mentioned something that I don't think adults, we don't think about it until you actually talk to the kids about what impact does that have doing a test on the computer, the pressure of that, and just how different it is to manipulate it. Jesus, do you mind sharing with us kind of the comments you made?
It is.
So, and I hope that you all could hear some of that. I think some of the well, it was all significant, but for example, not knowing how many questions you have on a test, and you're just going, you're worried about time, you might rush. Jesus, the other thing you mentioned was the formatting, having to go back and forth. He said writing was pretty self-explanatory. You just start writing and you go. But going back to check and answer, the kids were telling me that, you're on question 30, and you want to go back and check number 2, you have to click back one at a time. So there's some usage issues that I think people don't know behind the scenes. We just think it's a computer, it's so simple. But it has an effect on how we teach kids, and more importantly, how they learn. So anybody else want to add anything? You don't have to,
I just had something, but I lost it.
What was that, Gianna?
I just had something, but I lost it.
That's okay. It'll be on the computer, don't worry.
Just don't delete it.
Yes, sir.
Is that feedback able to get back to TEA or?
Oh, yes, I do believe, and we talked about it a little bit in principals meeting. I think that TA will continue to adjust it. It's this Cambian system, and we've been in it. This is our second year on that specific, and I think they'll make adjustments.
And they have, we've seen some adjustments even from last year, into this year. Rachel is a very strong advocate for us in our district when she sees in regards to the agency and seeking clarifications and providing. So we're very fortunate to have that and to have her working and advocating for us in that way.
Thank you for sharing. Oh, Gianna? Yeah, Gianna, thank you for sharing that. I forgot about that. What the kids said is getting the teachers set up to get going on the test takes a lot longer, where you could get in there, get your paper, pencil, tear your paper, and you could get started. Now it takes them, how long did you say? That's always good to hear. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. No, I'm just kidding. Right. It's complicated, and so that we really have to make sure that our staff are trained to help you guys get going on it. But really the point to that was it takes a lot longer to get started, and then you only have so much more time left in the day to complete your test. 30 minutes, yeah. As you're getting anxious.
Yes.
Who grades all that? I mean, are they using AI to grade the essays? Or they actually have people that sit there and read everything that's written down?
Yeah, I see like there has been a couple of pieces of information on that. The grading AI, or is it by 2 readers this year? Because it's the 2 readers. Yeah, they had first originally talked about some AI pieces, but they've gone back this year to 2 readers.
Okay.
So it will be 2 readers that will do that, and then their scores are added together. So it's a scale of 1 to 5, and then or 0 to 5 actually, then for an overall score of 0 to 10.
Hey, Hector, we don't want to leave you out. Can you give us some feedback? Anything we haven't heard?
Oh, you'll have something to say.
The things that we have to work with our kids on day in, day out to prepare them for it, because it's such a different format. You all have, I know you've experienced it on your phone. You're trying to read something, or maybe your computer, and you have to scroll down to come back up. You lose time. Or the board. Or the board. Well, we're here to inform.
We got informed.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now, there was no action required on that. So now it's superintendent's report. Curriculum report is information only. Financial report is information only. Administrative services and human resources report, information only. That brings us to McKinney-Vento Services. The presenter this evening is Norma Mercado, Family and Social Services Coordinator. Good evening, welcome.
Hi, good evening, members of the board, Mr. Edwards. And I am always messing up the clicker, so I hope that, okay, perfect. Well, it is an honor for me to present on the McKinney-Vento Act. This is very dear to me. It's something that I'm very passionate about, so it's an honor to be here with you to talk about it. Really quick, the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Improvement Act is a federal law. It supersedes federal, state and local policy, and it addresses both the homeless status and the unaccompanied youth status, meaning they can happen simultaneously, but they're also very different. Not all students who are homeless are unaccompanied, and not all unaccompanied youth are experiencing homelessness. So we'll talk a little bit about how they qualify and more information on it. So McKinney-Vento definition is children and youth who lack a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence. They can either be what we call doubled up or sharing a home with someone else. About 80% of our students qualify under this category. Those who live in a hotel, motel, trailer parks, camping grounds, and again, is due to a lack of alternative accommodation. So for example, not every RV park is gonna qualify. It really depends on why they're living in this RV park and how many people are in the shape of the RV. Those who live in emergency or transitional shelter or abandoned hospitals, we have 3 shelters in the county. One that serves all families, one that serves those experiencing domestic violence or sexual assault, and those that are adults and families in the Cedar Creek area at Camp Haven. Then we have those living in a public or private place not designated for or ordinarily used as regular sleeping accommodation for human beings. So that would be like a converted garage that doesn't have a cooking facility, a kitchen, a tiny home that is also not well insulated, doesn't have heater, air conditioning. Those living in cars, parks, public spaces, abandoned buildings, substandard housing, bus or train station or similar settings. So sometimes we do have families at the state park camping. They can only camp for up to 2 weeks, and then they have to go to a hotel and then come back for 2 more weeks. And then those also are migratory children that work in agriculture. So sometimes they will qualify because they're staying with different family members as they're traveling to do agricultural work. And then we have the unaccompanied youth, which includes a homeless child or youth experiencing homelessness, but not in custody of a parent or legal guardian. And when we talk about legal guardian, it has to be a court order document. So not a notarized paper, it has to be a court issued document. And then unaccompanied youth is defined as a youth under the age of 21 on September 1st of the current school year who's not in the physical custody of a parent or legal guardian, and 22 for special education students. So really quick, what triggers homelessness? It's not just one simple thing. A lot of it is due to loss of employment, substance use, incarceration, family violence, but also we have to be mindful that any of us could experience homelessness. We have had 12 natural disasters in Bastrop County, so you can have fires, floods, so there's different reasons why we're seeing an increased number of students experiencing homelessness here in the county. We also have gentrification, a lot of families being pushed out of the bigger cities because they can't afford a place to live. So students who are experiencing homelessness, these are their rights. They have the right to enroll in school immediately. We can waive the documents normally required for students because oftentimes, especially if they're running away from a domestic violence situation, they may be missing documents, and we want to make sure children can attend school. And they have the right to attend school of origin. School of origin is the school that they were attending when they lost their house. And they also have the right to attend the new zone school. So they do, also in the state of Texas, it's a third choice where a family experiencing homelessness can select the school district. However, when they select the school district, they cannot choose, they don't have the right to choose the school, and they also don't have the right for transportation services. So district do have requirements under the McKinney-Vento Act. They have to have an appointed McKinney-Vento liaison. Every school district in the United States has to have a person who oversees and ensures that we have a process and procedures to ensure that we are providing services to our students experiencing homelessness. Also, if there is a disagreement, we have to have a dispute resolution process and make sure that student records are provided within a timely manner. TA has now designated that within 10 days. Those documents have to be transferred. And then we also have to review and revise our policies to make sure they're not acting as barriers for our students. So now I'm going to go over what it looks like. How do we identify families? So we have the Student Residency Questionnaire, or SRQ, as part of the student enrollment application process. In this SRQ, there's a couple of questions that prompt a follow-up. So if a student marks, yes, I am currently living with someone else due to a loss of housing, we have to have someone in that, usually the school or social worker, completes an intake with the family just to follow up to see why did they mark yes. Sometimes it's by mistake. You know, when you're completing enrollment packets, you go really fast. But oftentimes families do qualify for services. They'll share more information. And it is then that we identify a student experiencing homelessness. We also, after that, once an intake is completed and we verify their McKinney-Vento status, we then code in Skyward for services, so that way staff on campus is aware that this student qualifies for this distinction. I also want to share some numbers with you. So this is a state data. We saw a big increase in 2017, and that is because of Hurricane Harvey. But then we have seen a decline, especially during COVID years, and that is because, not because people stopped experiencing homelessness, but because we weren't out there looking for the students. So we lost a lot of contact with our students. And then also, usually the students experiencing homelessness have a lower graduation rate. So that is our focus. The focus of the McKinney-Vento Act is to, the earlier we can identify students, the earlier we can remove the barriers, the better success for them to graduate. And so that's what we have seen here in Bastrop ISD. Although we continue to see an increase in our McKinney-Vento numbers. I have seen since 2015 about 200 increase each year. So in 2020, we had a little bit over 600. Last year, we had almost 800. And just so you can have an idea, as of today, we have 726, and we are in February. We identify about an average of a student per day. But the graduation rate, however, we are above the state average, even for our McKinney-Vento students. They're not that far off from our regular student population. It was in 2019-2020, they were at 98.6 graduation rates, and the McKinney-Vento students were at 96.2. So we know that the earlier, again, we identify the process and procedures that we have in place are really helping our students be more successful and graduate on time. I also want to share with you House Bill 692, which affects our McKinney-Vento students. And so House Bill 692 prohibits schools from placing students out of school suspension unless it falls under 3 categories: if it's related to a weapon, an assault, and substances. And so this was a lot of mixed feelings about it, because I know in a way it feels like, well, it's not fair, they shouldn't be treated differently. But the reason this bill came to pass was because a lot of the students experiencing homelessness, whenever they're suspended out of school and they're in a shelter, children cannot return to a shelter during the day. So they were going to the parks, they were going to the libraries, they were in the streets, and they found that they were at higher risk for human trafficking. So this is why this bill came to pass, and it really helps protect children experiencing homelessness from being more victims of human trafficking. And so here in Bastrop ISD, something else that we created was the wraparound services at the Family Resource Center. We have a full pediatric clinic. Students who are experiencing homelessness are provided medical services at no cost. We have adult classes to help parents get those skills that they need to come out of homelessness. We provide support groups. Currently, we're working on a grandparent support group. We're seeing a lot more grandparents supporting their grandchildren. We have the WIC office that comes twice a week. We have emergency food boxes. We have a full clothes closet for all ages. We offer community service hours. We also host our social work interns, and we provide past project workshops on the weekends for our students who are trying to learn those skills to become independent. Like one of their favorite ones is etiquette dining. We offer financial literacy. And so we try to really provide the services that students and families need. And any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
You talked about the qualifications and the intake. Do they have to requalify every year?
Yes. So once a student is coded for McKinney-Vento, it ends at the end. It automatically ends. And in the summer, when we begin student registrations again, is when we begin to follow up. We also have to keep those SRQs for 7 years, even if they don't qualify or they decline services.
It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work in the summer. It's when we're the busiest. We really do grassroots work. We are out there in the community talking to families and identifying and making sure they know that we're there to help.
So what happens with the kids during the summer? Like if they can't return to a shelter during the day and things like that, what happens with them?
So a lot of them, we try to make sure, a lot of them are, they come to summer school. So we have summer school, it's a great program, and we work with different community agencies like the Parks and Recs Department, or there's also a couple of programs in Austin where families are willing to drive them there to their open parks program. So we do try to connect those families with summer things at for the students.
All right.
Yeah, but you're right, like homelessness doesn't end in the summer, so it continues.
Yes, and in regards to discipline, is the administration able to send them to ISS and to Gateway?
Yes, so if it's not one of those 3 categories, then they have to serve their suspension in school. And if they do have to be suspended due to one of those 3 categories, sometimes there's a delay to get a Gateway, but because we know the student situation, our goal is to get them to Gateway as soon as possible. That way they don't have to be waiting if they have no place to stay.
Is there anything that they're available for, say, a community member or businesses to potentially maybe sponsor families, or is there any type of help that can be provided by somebody if they're interested?
Yes, so we actually working with our circus students. So one of the hot items that I say all the time is hygiene products. So we are always in need of brand new socks, underwear, hygiene products. But one of the things that we're working with this school year, thanks to a couple of grants that we got, is mentors. So we really want to partner our students experiencing homelessness with a mentor. So we will be going around and training and to the community also to recruit mentors for our students.
Great, thank you.
Yes.
Anything else? Thank you very much, Ms.
Okay,
McConnell.
thank you.
No action required on that, so we move on to our operations report, which is information only, police department report, information only, and then the state mandated Texas Code of Criminal Procedure, Article 2.132B, racial profiling report. Presenter tonight is Scott Bunch, Chief of Police and Director of Safety and Security.
Thank you. Before we get started, I'd like to just say a little bit about Norma, because a lot of people don't know how integral she is with this entire Bastrop County community. I get called in the middle of the night sometimes because they're trying to get a hold of Norma, because they have families that are in need, and she never turns anybody down. We've had tragic incidents happen to young men and women in the county, and they are trying to find out who these children are and where they're supposed to be, and Norma typically knows. It will amaze you how much that she knows about this community and about these children and these families. And so she is a truly an integral part of this district and this community. And she's had to do things that a lot of people don't know. She's had to make notifications to families that they'll reach out to her. And so there's just a lot that goes on behind the scenes that a lot of people are not aware of. But Norma does an amazing job, and I can't tell you that enough. So thank you so much, Norma. The state requires that we do racial profiling. It used to be as a school district, they would allow you to click a button that said you're exempt. They no longer allow that. And so we have to do the racial profiling. And part of that is we have to go in, and that's the reason why we have body cameras. And you have to have those. If you don't, there's a way of, you have to keep track a different way. And then also anytime they stop somebody, they have to issue at least a warning ticket because that also documents the stop. And so we're a full-fledged police department, so we're doing more stops than we have in years past because we've increased the number of officers. We're going to be working school zones and things like that because we believe in keeping kids safe as they come to school, as they're in school, and as they go home from school. And so our law enforcement partners try to help us as best they can, but again, their staffing levels are what they are, and so it's difficult sometimes for them to be part. So we're going to be out and about a little more, and so our numbers are going to continue to go up for the next few years. And so part of the racial profiling, what we have to do is we have to keep up with the number of traffic stops that we conducted. I believe last year we were in the 30s. This year we're at 196. And so we keep up where they were stopped, where they were on the city street, where they're in the county, state highways. And then we have to keep up with the race and ethnicity. And so was the race known prior to? And that's 10 of those stops out of the 196. And then we see the number of people that were stopped, and we keep up with the race. And so 7% were black, 51% were white, and then 41% were Hispanic. Again, we go through gender also. We'll list out how many were male, how many were female, how many, again, based on race. And then we stop for the reasons that they were stopped. And so, as you'll see, most of ours were violation of law somewhere. Either it was moving violation for speeding in a school zone, or it was because of the registration was expired, or some other reason for that stop. But again, we do it all based on race. BIC traffic stops, again, you look at who was searched, was a search conducted, and again, you'll look at the numbers based on the searches and the population of that. We do very few searches. The majority of those searches were from people that were white. Again, searches are based off of, do we have probable cause? Again, we have canines. And so if we suspect there is drugs in a vehicle, we'll use a canine. Or if we just have probable cause based on the smell or the observation of it, we'll do those searches as well. BSC traffic stop data, again, it goes by, was consent given? Was contraband found? Did we have probable cause? Was it inventory? Inventory is a search that we do after an arrest is done. We inventory a vehicle to make sure the property is in there and that we can account for it. An incident to arrest. Was contraband discovered? And you can see out of about half of those, yes, they were, and half of those, they weren't. In the description of the contraband, you can see the majority of that, drugs. And a weapon was in one. Again, verbal warnings, written warnings, citations, written warning and arrest, and citation and arrest, and you'll see how it's broken down. Again, many of ours are the written warnings. We're not looking to make money. We're out there looking to save lives and looking to reduce traffic fatalities or traffic accidents, period. And so it's not about money, it's about keeping people safe. Violation of the penal code, violation of traffic laws, and violation of city ordinances. And so was there arrests that we made, were they based on, and typically it's the penal code or outstanding warrant. And then was physical force used? No, on none. And that is our racial profile that we're mandated to report. And then I will have to submit this by March 1st to our accreditation body, our commission, TCOL. Do you have any questions?
Made was just pursuant to a warrant that was outstanding already.
Yes.
Out of the 196.
Yes. Okay. All right. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Move to, excuse me, communications and community relations report. This is information only. And now we move to the consent agenda. Would any board member like to pull any of the consent agenda items from discussion? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
I move to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
We have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and approve. A motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving to our action items, we first will consider approval of the size of class waiver. This is Nate Layford, Associate Superintendent of Administrative Services and Human Resources. Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Moore, board members, Mr. Edwards. This evening, I want to talk to you guys about class size waivers. Each school district in Texas is required to monitor enrollment for pre-kindergarten through 4th grade. If a class indicates any size of those grade levels to exceed an allowable class size of 22 to 1, the district must submit a class size waiver request along with an approved compliance plan to the Texas Education Agency. Bastrop ISD has made every effort to remain in compliance with the class size limit of 22 to 1 in pre-K through 4th grade for the 22-23 school year. The district has monitored school enrollment since the beginning of the school year and has made every effort to balance classrooms with ratios that exceed the 22 to 1 requirement. Enrollment will continue to be monitored throughout the 22-23 school year. The most recent monitoring report indicates that Bastrop ISD exceeds the 22 to 1 ratio on the following campuses within the district. Bluebonnet Elementary has 1/3 grade class that exceeds the ratio with a class size of 24. Bluebonnet Elementary also has 2 4th grade bilingual classes that exceed the ratio with a class size average of 23. Cedar Creek Elementary has 1 first grade bilingual class that exceeds the ratio with a class size of 23. Cedar Creek Elementary also has 4 2nd grade classrooms that exceed the ratio with an average class size of 23.2. Emile Elementary has 1 pre-K class that exceeds the ratio with a class of 23. Emile Elementary also has 1 2nd grade class that exceeds the ratio with a class size of 23. Even though Bastrop ISD is requesting to submit a class size waiver for the above-mentioned campuses, the overall pre-K through 4th grade district average ratio is 20.4. The Bastrop Independent School District recognizes its obligation and fully is dedicated to full compliance with the state class size ratio of pre-K through 4th grade. In efforts to comply with the class size ratio, the district's current compliance plan endorses the following actions. We monitor student enrollment regularly looking for indications that problems exist. If applicable, transfer of teachers from campuses with smaller enrollment are moved to support campuses that exceed a 22 to 1 ratio. We review transfer requests with campus administration for campuses that exceed the 22 to 1 ratio and collaborate on the possibility of denying transfers for the overcrowded campuses. We assess anticipated growth occurring in the district in order to better project student enrollment and teacher movement. And we assess facilities needs through long-range planning, facilities master planning, as we are opening 2 new campuses this fall, and we are looking to pass a bond in May for a couple more elementaries. For your review, the class size compliance plan follows this motion in your board book. Are there any questions at this time?
Hey, we have over 500 more students at this time this year than we had last year.
Yes, sir.
And that's just continuing to grow. These new elementary schools that are being built will be opened up hopefully the first part of the year. Is that going to alleviate some of this?
Absolutely. We'll have plenty of room for all of our students. We might have 1 or 2 classrooms over, but it'll be not anywhere near the numbers that we've had this year. It's hard to estimate projections, especially when you're having boundaries changed, but we will continue to evaluate weekly when the school's open to make sure that we have quality, highly qualified teachers on all campuses. Yes, sir.
Can I
Yes, ma'am.
a question about the pre-K? And I know I've asked this before, but is that for one certified teacher, or is there an aide in that class?
There's always, we always provide an instructional aide.
So there's an instructional
So
aide.
there's 22 children and 2 adults, 1 certified, 1 paraprofessional. And most of those campuses, the paraprofessional also goes through a certification process that's required by TEA for Title I campuses.
Thank you.
So Nate, I'm wondering, we're looking at, what I counted was about 10 classes that are over. How many classes do we have, like, across the board? Do you know that?
I need a calculator.
No, I was just wondering.
A lot qualify?
A lot.
Yeah,
no.
all bold.
Yeah.
So I would say approximately there's 30 classrooms average on a campus, 30 to 35. We have 6 campuses.
Okay.
So what's that, 180 to
Okay.
200?
All right.
Yes.
So, yeah.
5%.
Okay. Yeah.
Very, very
5%.
small
Yeah, very
number.
small.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry to put you on the spot like that.
No, you're good. Just a quick, I was a math teacher.
Oh, now she did it.
Bring it on.
Bring it on.
Okay, any other questions?
Mr. President, I move to approve the class size compliance plan and the request to submit the class size waiver to the Texas Education Agency as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any further discussion, questions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you. I'll apply for the waiver.
There we go. We move now to consider an approval of memorandum of agreement between Bastrop ISD and Our Lady of the Lake University. Nora Mikado, again.
Good evening again. Bastrop ISD is bringing for your consideration a memorandum of agreement with Our Lady of the Lake University to provide educational and training of social work field education students. Some of the highlights of this MOA include increase in mental health services providers in Bastrop ISD schools with students who have successfully completed the requirements for the field education component and curriculum. Social work field education is considered signature pedagogy of school social work. Through placement in a school setting and the instruction of a social work professional, it is supervised high-impact learning that provides students direct practice experiences for applying and integrating knowledge, skills, and values acquired in the classroom. University of the Lake will provide general liability for student interns completing their internship in Bastrop ISD. I recommend the board approve the memorandum of agreement with Our Lady of the Lake University in San Antonio, Texas, as presented.
Approve the memorandum of agreement between Bastrop ISD and Our Lady of the Lake University in San Antonio, Texas, as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. I did have one further question. Do you have any idea of the numbers that we might be looking at as far as interns?
I do not, but we're getting really popular, so I'm so excited that we added another university. So
What she means is she's getting very popular. No,
And
she does an
so-
outstanding job, as we heard earlier, and people are wanting to come here because of the services and the breadth of wraparound services that we provide.
Yes, so my goal is to continue to increase, and I present in the summer to all of our local universities to continue to recruit students to increase our capacity.
Well, that's great, because that field work is very important. Now I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now we move to consider approval of amendment to the memorandum of understanding with Dell Medical School at the University of Texas at Austin. Laura Baker, Director of Student Services, welcome.
Hi, good evening, President Moore, Board Trustees, and Mr. Edwards. I'm bringing before you a proposal to amend our current MOU with the University of Texas at Austin and Dell Medical School that offers our TChat services to our students at our middle school and high school campuses. As a reminder, the TChat initiative provides telehealth services to address students' mental health needs. The proposed amendment is to add the Youth Aware of Mental Health program, which serves as a mental health education for students at TChat schools. So some of the highlights of the YAM program are it's a year-round interactive program for adolescents promoting increased discussion and knowledge about mental health. It is comprised of 5 sessions, which encourages suicide prevention, the development of problem-solving skills, and emotional intelligence through lectures, discussions, and role plays. It provides students with an evidence-based curriculum that can be administered over 3 to 5 weeks. The sessions are approximately 45 minutes long and are student-driven. So some of the focus on the themes for the curriculum are on what is mental health, self-help advice, stress and crisis, depression and suicidal thoughts, helping a friend in need, and who can I ask for advice. Right now, we are currently in the pre-planning stages in thinking about the logistics and rollout of the program. In early February, Norma and I actually met with both of the middle school principals to gauge their interest on implementing this program at their campus. So we provided them the information ahead of time, kind of like pre-homework. And then when we met with them, we went over what the program actually provides and ask them, do you think this is something that is needed at your campus? And if so, do you think logistically you would be able to implement it on your campus? The answer was yes, this is definitely something our students need. The program is recommended to be implemented either with 8th grade students on up to 12th grade students. We're working on some other things at the high school level with our social workers, and so we wanted to focus, and the thought behind this was the earlier the better, early intervention. So that's kind of why we landed on 8th graders. So as a result of that conversation, what we discussed is possibly piloting, having some members of the University of Texas at Austin who happen to be YAM facilitators come in and model some of these lessons with a smaller group of 8th grade students, because we did send 2 current district employees to the training which UT of Austin paid for. They're grant funded for this program. And that's a week-long training. They came back, they're super excited, and they're ready to hit the ground running, but we kind of had to tell them, pump the brakes, please, because we have some more things to work out. So what the recommendation was, let's have the YAM facilitators from UT of Austin maybe come in late spring, like May, after testing is done, utilize or implement these lessons with a small group of students, and our current employees that have been trained or went through the training recently would be able to observe the YAM facilitators, and they would serve as a model to our current staff. We did only send 2 staff members. It was a pretty quick turnaround time. So they actually went right after the bad weather, I believe, like that next week. And so the plan is to send more staff members. And currently we're thinking our campus-based social workers or district employed social workers, along with our MTSS coaches, which Heather referred to earlier, multi-tiered systems of support coaches. And then they would work collaboratively to help facilitate these lessons on the campus. So that's a short-term goal, but we would work with the campus principals over the summer along with our our YAM point of contact, and kind of work through the logistics of how can we do this next year, and look at our different options. So are there any questions about the YAM program?
Something that is just, has it been established in other places and we're just now getting it, or is it something that's brand new?
Kind of a combination of both, because it is a grant-funded program and because there is such an emphasis on mental health, unfortunately, but that's just the current state. They have begun implementing this in surrounding districts, but they're also in the newer stages, and they can provide it throughout the state of Texas. We are fortunate enough to have UT of Austin here to where they can come in and provide the services, and so depending on what area you're in, it may not be a UT of Austin facilitator coming in, but maybe another local university in that area. And one of the other things that we just learned, I think this past week, was closer to our borders with Mexico, they actually aren't recommending implementing the program there yet because they're currently working on getting all of the lessons in Spanish and being able to ensure that we have facilitators that can provide the lessons in Spanish as well. So they're working on it, but that's coming.
But you did say it was an evidence-based curriculum.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Yes.
it has gone through that. The other question I had is the T-chat is still continuing?
Yes, that's
This is
not
just-
going away.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
so this is
just to
it's a
add
great
this
question,
in the-
and I didn't cover that. So YAM actually falls under the T-Chat umbrella. So YAM is more of a tier 1 intervention. So I kind of think about it like our social emotional learning. All students could have access to it because it's facilitated as if the students are in a cohort. So let's say Miss Baker has dance classes from 1st through 6th period. So that YAM facilitator would come in once a week to Miss Baker's dance classes and provide the YAM lessons for either a 3 to 5 week period, because you can either double up the lessons, which would make it 3 weeks, or just do one lesson at a time to go over 5 weeks. So Miss Baker would be in each one of those class periods, and that's where she would, or the facilitator would spend the day. And then once they are done with that classroom, then they would move on to the next one. And so with us focusing on 8th graders, we would need to figure out how could we provide this to every single 8th grader on campus. And to go back to your question, some of the models right now in some of the other districts, it's being facilitated through health classes. And we currently don't provide or teach health anymore. So, but we have some other ideas. Every campus does have dedicated time for SEL on the master schedule. And at our middle schools, where it currently falls, it's actually a longer class period. And so we're thinking that that would be the time that we would be able to do it. So it would just kind of naturally build into our social, emotional, you're at a glance pacing guide.
Thank you.
So I read that you were looking, like, one of the things you were working on was parental consent to be able to do this. So will you be opening the curriculum up to the parents if they wish to come and see it, look at it, review it?
Absolutely. So as part of our pre-planning process, what the other thing that YAM provides to school districts is they have an abundance of resources, both in English and Spanish, and a lot of those are for parents.
Okay.
And so they have flyers, and what they do is they have actually already shared them with us, and so we can go in there and review them and provide them feedback, and they'll individualize them specifically for our district as well. Absolutely, we would, if a parent had questions about it, we would definitely invite them to come in and review the curriculum or answer any questions that they might have. The T-Chat facilitators are also, I'm sorry, I keep saying T-Chat. The YAM facilitators are also on hand to meet with parents and go over the curriculum with them, which is great.
Or the facilitators?
Our current partner, she actually is a certified teacher, and she had a calling. I believe she also transitioned into being a school counselor.
Okay.
And then she found out about a different, like a learning opportunity or extended learning opportunity at the UT of Austin. And then as part of that, she was made aware of the YAM program.
Okay.
And so she's a great point of contact. We've met with them twice so far. We'll continue to meet with them. And I was going to answer one more question about the parents. So I asked, do they make a recommendation about an opt-in or opt-out option for parents and families? And the recommendation is to opt out. So we're providing this. If you don't want your child to participate in it, please submit the opt-out form, and they won't. Okay. Any other questions? So I recommend the board approve the amendment to the University of Texas of Austin MOU to include the Youth Aware of Mental Health program to our current MOU.
I have a motion. I so move that the memorandum of understanding with Dell Medical School, University of Texas, Austin, as presented, be passed. Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there any further discussion? If not, a vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That sounds like a great program.
Thank you very
motion
much. I
passes.
appreciate y'all's support, as always. Thank you.
We move to consider approval of a memorandum of understanding between Bastrop ISD and the School of Family and Consumer Sciences at Texas State University. Ms. Raina Ellis, District Counselor Coordinator. Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Edwards, President Moore, and board members. Bastrop ISD is bringing for your consideration an MOU with the School of Family and Consumer Sciences at Texas State University. This project is intended to function for the next 2 years, pending continued support by the federal government. Some highlights of the MOU will be to provide our adolescent parents with information and skills related to building healthy relationships, engaging in healthy co-parenting and parenting practices, and general life skills. We will train strengthening relationships and strengthening families, staff, and interns to implement evidence-based, medically accurate, and culturally responsive programming. Implement the program with adolescent parents enrolled in BISD high schools, and then coordinate among project staff, school partners, domestic violence providers, and other agencies to enhance adolescent parents' well-being and strengthening their families. And again, I have to give credit to Norma, who also, sought this out. The pregnancy-related services falls within under kind of the counseling realm and our homebound teacher. We served 19 students last year with pregnancy-related services, and currently we have 15 this year. So those potentially are expecting or they're already parents. So this would help really put some background behind getting those parents the support that they need in all the areas to keep them in school so we can graduate them. Do you have any questions?
Questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the memorandum of understanding between Bastrop ISD and the School of Family and Consumer Sciences at Texas State University as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion or questions? If not, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. We're doing a lot of considering tonight.
It takes a lot of partners to raise these kids up,
I'm
right?
glad to get all the help we can get, absolutely. This is consider approval of an educational affiliation agreement between Bastrop ISD and Austin Community College District. Mr. Mark Medley, Assistant Director of Special Programs and Services, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, President Moore, members of the board, and Superintendent Edwards. I'm here presenting the Education Affiliation Agreement between Bastrop ISD and Austin Community College. The current agreement, which is set to expire on March 4th, 2023, allows for ACC students in the fields of occupational therapy assistant, vocational nursing, and professional nursing to be placed alongside BISD providers to engage in clinical activities as part of their education. The new proposed agreements includes those above-mentioned fields and would also add physical therapy assistance. Clinical partners are essential to the success of ACC students in the health sciences, and this partnership allows Bastrop ISD to form relationships with future graduates who have the potential to become employees of the district. I recommend the board approve the affiliation agreement between Bastrop ISD and ACC as presented. Are there any questions?
Mm-hmm. If not, then I would call for a vote. All in favor?
We've got a motion.
I need to do more considering here, obviously.
I think that end of the table is asleep.
I keep looking down.
Not even a second.
I keep looking down there, wondering if they're still here.
I move.
Okay.
Claire, you got this one?
I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the education affiliation agreement between Bastrop ISD and Austin Community College District as presented.
I'll second that, Molly.
Thank you for your
Got him
support.
back.
And we are awake down here.
They came alive. All right. Is there any further questions or comments? If not, now I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, goodness me. That was a tough one.
Chief, we may need some support.
Yes, reinforcements, please. Now we will consider adoption of a resolution for the National Incident Management System for the Bastrop Independent School District in the County of Bastrop, Texas. Chief Punch.
Before I get started, I wanted to, we always talk about the intruder audits and we have to report findings. But I want you to know we had a couple successes here recently. Elementary had no findings. Cedar Creek Intermediate School had no findings. The auditor also went back to CCM by mistake, no findings, but said, I can't list that because we've already done it. And so we as a district are going to constantly try to improve and constantly try to do better. We're never going to sit back and rest and relax and say we're good, because we're not. We're going to always want to improve, whether it's academics or safety. It's always our mission. And so this is part of this NIMS. And so going through the emergency operations plan in our review of the Texas School Safety Center, this is one of those that they say we recommend you do, that as a district we adopt the NIMS, the National Incident Management System. It's a formal way of communication. Again, it goes back to Uvalde when they said they didn't know who was in charge. That's a ridiculous statement. And so what we want to do is adopt this resolution as a district and say that this is how we will communicate as a county, as a system, because everybody knows it's a common language. It not only is a common language, but it also establishes who's in charge, and when that relinquish the charge, it's a formal process of relinquishing the charge. So you always know who owns the scene at that very moment. And so I ask that the board adopt the resolution that we adopt the National Incident Management System as our formal way of communicating, whether it's a weather-related or a mass casualty incident.
I move to approve the adoption of the resolution for a national incident management system for the Bastrop Independent School District in the county of Bastrop, Texas, as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion and a second. We're playing the ends against each other here. Motion and second. Any further discussion? If not, I'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Chief. Item 6, information items. Board of Trustees calendar of events, information only. Enrollment, information only. Single budgeted purchase more than $50,000, information only. At this time, if there are no objections, I've adjourned this meeting. Good? Thank you.